Hi, this is David with entry number 5, 600, 626, 25, something like that, 27 maybe. I forgotten once again. I'm here at this place I've actually recorded at before, and I'm doing a static recording, which I'm calling non-walking, essentially. We'll call walking entries dynamic and sitting down entries static. And I wanted to talk about something that I feel is pretty important, that is often, I've discussed it before, but I think it's so important that I feel like it should be said yet again. And that's kind of the idea, or maybe more of a concept, or arguably more of a philosophy of critical thinking. And I think first and foremost, I think what's important is kind of defining, or maybe just kind of understanding critical thinking is the fact of not really what it is, but why it's important. And I think generally people are okay and desire to think non-critically. And I don't think that's really a fault of anyone's. It's not anyone's fault for wanting to think non-critically. It's more of a symptom of the society that we live in. Especially here in Seoul, there's a kind of deluge of information. There's a lot of what do you call them? There's a lot of kind of stimulus. And to take in all that stimulus would be overbearing, and so we have to be kind of selective with what we pay attention to. And by doing this, we kind of end up drowning out some information to keep from going crazy. And I think by kind of the more and more that you adopt this kind of way of being, the less and less you are able to think critically, because thinking, as silly as it sounds, takes up a lot of energy, burns a lot of space in our heads. Say we have 100 blocks of 100 units of things that we can pay attention to, or we can do. Thinking critically might take up 40%, and that 40 means it's been allocated, like you can't use it for anything else. And for a lot of people that is unacceptable, or at least very hard to do, so they don't want to do it. I think we've kind of lost that ability, or maybe not the ability, but the desire to understand more than just what we can see, hear, touch, smell, and taste. Is that sad? Is that bad, I should say? No, I don't really think it's bad. I don't really think it's sad either, to be honest. But there is more to living than just what we can experience with our 5 senses. And I like to think of it like, if you think about our brains, and you think about the amount of processes that it can do at one time, it's almost infinitesimal. Let's call it trillions, probably more than that, but trillions of things it's able to do. Many of those things are unconscious, are like making sure our blood moves and our synapses are firing correctly, and oxygen is being used by the body properly. So imagine of all those trillions of processes, imagine if we were just able to pay attention to 1% of those processes. You know, I think that would be pretty astounding. And I know that's not really how the brain works per se, but um, as kind of an example, or maybe a generic, philosophy, I think applying that, kind of seeing how much more you can get from life just through critical thinking, I think there is no reason to at least try every now and then. Try to force yourself to think about things beyond just how they are experienced. That's fine, like eating things that taste good is great. But, that's gonna leave you with pretty much like flat. There's not a lot of variation in that. I mean, it's sweet and fatty. Those are like the two things that we crave, that we feel that taste really good. And if you limit yourself to only using the scope of what you enjoy, then I think you lose a lot of other kind of subtleties or like more nuanced parts of anything. So, what is critical thinking? I think most easily explained is just thinking beyond the surface. And I think the easiest way to kind of crack into it is just ask why. Asking why is a very childish thing. It's a very simple thing, but on balance, that's what it might seem like. But I think asking why is something that really can provoke critical thinking beyond just, what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you smell, what you feel. You can actually see things or experience things in ways that if you don't ask why, you won't ever get more. For instance, why does my hair appear purple right here in the video? Why? If you just see this, most people will just see that and ignore it and go, oh, that's kind of weird. But I think someone who thinks critically, or at least is curious, would say why. Why? See the purple over here too? That purple? And that's actually something in photography called a chromatic aberration. It's mostly due to the sensor, the digital sensor in this camera. And I don't know entirely what it's called, but or why it happens, but it's usually when you have fine detail on a white background or a bright background. And you see that around my head, how it turns purple, around the dark leaves too. And that's just kind of something, I don't know exactly why. And, now that I'm talking about it, it makes me more curious. And you see how it's gone now? And, but you see it right here a little bit on this bar. So, in conclusion, I don't want to ramble on too long, but, the next time you see something, anything really, ask why. Try asking why, and maybe do spend 5 minutes researching. Just type the question into Google, and that's usually good enough. You'll be surprised, I think, how interesting and how much more you can get out of life by just thinking a little more than just what's on the surface. I think that's benefited me a lot, to be honest. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk with you in a couple days. Bye.